Good evening and welcome to the Italian Impact Podcast. I am your host, Steve Stefano Mancini. As always, I'd like to welcome my listeners from around the world who are tuning in on a semi-regular basis because I used to record weekly, but I sort of got away from that. So I try and do what I'll call several episodes a month. And the nice thing about that is I think that I have been getting on some very good guests, and today is going to be no exception to that. But more importantly, that gives you, the listener, an opportunity to reach out to me, questions at ItalianImpactWeekly.com. And if you have somebody you'd like me to have on the show or recommendations, I am wide open because most of the people I have on the show are through introductions through other guests, through listeners, you name it, and today's guest is no exception to that. And like I always say, although it is Italian Impact Podcast, you don't have to be Italian to enjoy it, and you don't even have to be Italian to be a guest. In fact, I am going outside the box, but this guest is directly a result of a previous guest I had. I don't know if you remember, I had Sam Bozzolo on the show. His mother was an opera teacher, and his grandfather was a famous opera singer, and he won a Tony for, I believe, South Pacific. But if you haven't caught that episode, go back. That's only a few episodes back. I encourage you to go listen. But with that being said, let me introduce today's guest because I'm bringing on another entertainer. But this is a good one, so I really enjoy this. We went and had dinner about a month or so ago, and I started listening to Kevin, and I was like, wow, this guy's going to make a great guest. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome my guest this week, Kevin Glavin. Kevin, opera singer, entertainer, and just world-renowned traveler. Kevin, how are you?
I'm doing very good, Stephen. Good to talk to you and your listeners.
I appreciate you coming on, taking time out of your schedule. And I can legitimately say I think you are busy because you have some upcoming stuff, which I usually do that in the end and say, what are you doing next? But I want to kind of start off with that. You are going to be in some shows coming up, correct?
Yes, I am. It's a longer story, but I actually retired during COVID because I figured I've been in the opera business for 42 years now, and I thought, it's time to retire. Well, after that, I started getting calls from my agent, and I said, wait a minute, I'm retired. She said, well, people still want you. So I've been doing operas, La Bohème, Marriage of Figaro, since then, and coming up, I am doing I'm doing a Bohème with Pittsburgh Opera in October. I don't know the exact dates. And I'm also doing Christmas shows with the Pittsburgh Symphony coming up in December. And I don't have the exact dates of both of these shows because we haven't finished the contracts yet.
Oh, no worries. But listen, I'm hearing words: opera, singer, entertainer, retired. Kevin, that infers you've been around a while. However, having seen you, I would say I'm kind of surprised you were actually retired. But let's talk about that because you've been singing for decades and you've sung with some great names, and we're going to talk about that. But let's go all the way back. When did you, kind of discover the passion for opera? When did this start? And when did you realize you were going to be good at it? Because we're going to talk about your career.
Yeah, well, first of all, I'll go back even further, and I won't spend a lot of time on it. But I remember the first time singing for anyone was in my parents' kitchenette thing. For my uncles played cards and smoked cigars, and they said to my father, "Hey, does Kevin have a voice?" And they wanted me to sing. So I sang some Catholic tunes. We were raised Catholic in a town called Westview, PA, which is in the North Hills of Pittsburgh. So that's the first time I remember singing, and they said, "This kid's got a good voice." And so all throughout my years going up through high school, my voice was recognized in the choirs, and also North Hills choir we were pretty famous around the country. We got first place awards, and I was a soloist with the North Hills choir. And that's when I was introduced to Claudia Pinta. And because the coach there, the choir director, he likened my voice to Luciano Pavarotti, one of the most famous tenors in history. And I did have a very high voice at the time. And So I said, well, who should I go to? And he said, go to this lady, Claudia Pinta. And I knew nothing of opera other than I knew who Luciano Pavarotti was, because he was in the 70s when I started, was upcoming and pretty popular. So I did. I went to see Claudia Pinta, and the only problem with that audition was I didn't want to do opera. I wanted to go out to Vegas and sing Sinatra-style music because I really loved the Rat Pack. And as I said, my uncles on my mother's side all ran bars, and they were bookies, and they were, they smoked cigars.
Did you say really bookies? Good for you, buddy. Good for you.
Yeah, they were bookies. It was a pretty funny story because they were all characters, but nice guys. And so they were all excited that I was going to sing Sinatra-style stuff, maybe go out to Vegas and do that thing. And my whole vision of myself was having a nice adult beverage in my hand with a cigar and a microphone and entertaining people. So I did the audition. And I sang just scales for her, as we do in opera. We warm up our voices. And she said, oh, very good, very good. Well, I will talk to you and see if I take you on as one of my students. So, unbeknownst to me, when I left the house, Claudia Pinta's husband, his name is Rolando Bozzola, and he said, hey, this kid has a really good voice. And she said, yes, but if he thinks he's going to do that music, I will never teach him to sing. So, and this was told to me by her son, Samuele Bozzola, who you've had on the show. And so as it transpired there, I was studying with her. I did some light opera songs. There's a book of 18 songs that everyone in opera learns first. They're very easy on the voice. And so I learned them, and I started thinking, well, it's not bad, but I'm known as a comedian. And I was like the guy in my class, and everybody waited till I got there because I would cause a little ruckus in the classroom by telling jokes and making fun of teachers and things like that behind their back. And but I always sort of was a funnier guy. And I said, I don't really want to do opera because it's very serious. And then Signora Pinta said to me, well, we do have something called opera buffa, and they are comic characters within opera. And so she said, I want you to come to Italy with me. So I said, well, I'd like to, and she had a program back then she started in the name of her father, Ezio Pinza. It was the Ezio Pinza Council of American Singers of Opera. And so she said, you come here, we give you some money, you have to get other money to come over for the whole summer. So my father was a union leader, and he was good friends with a senator named John Hines. And so my father just went to him and said, look, Kevin, you have a foundation for entertainers or artists and things like that. And so the guy gave me money out of his pocket to go to Italy with Claudia Pinta.
Somebody made him an offer he couldn't refuse to start your career. I see how this works, Kevin.
Exactly. It was an incredible journey. And so I started studying over there. And then I went back the next summer and the next summer. And so for about 6 summers throughout my career, I went over there to either learn roles in opera or the roles actually that I worked on when I was there were roles that I was going to do in my career for the rest of my life. All of the comic operas in Italian, nothing else. Like as my career expanded, but I learned all of the buffo characters, the comic characters when I was young, so I knew all of them before I even auditioned for anyone.
Now,
it was a great training.
Well, let me ask you that, because you know what? She was obviously world renowned, and yes, she could, she's going to take on students. She's obviously picking somebody that's going to, like, yeah, they've got it, so I'm going to work with them on it. With that being said, did she point you to specific operas to then go audition for or refer you? Like, how does your career start out of that?
Right. Well, the thing about me was I have a voice. I can sing. And people tried to dissuade me from doing comic characters because they said, it's comedy. It's not, opera's more serious, and you have the voice to do it. Well, what they didn't understand was the buffo characters are very difficult roles. There's a lot of patter.
But
There's a role that I do.
well, real quick, let me go back to it. But is all opera serious, or was it just thought to be serious?
Yeah, I think the general consensus with the public is, I don't want to go to an opera. It's too heavy. It's too serious.
Right, I got to wear a suit, and I got to, right, yeah, and everyone's going to be sad, and, got it.
Right. So I was able to use my comic expertise, actually, in roles that were written in, like Rossini wrote a lot of comic opera, and I did a lot of those, and Donizetti, and I do comic characters in Bohème, which is a very serious story, but I do two roles in La Bohème, Benoit and Alcindoro. They're two comic roles. One's a landlord, and one's a very wealthy guy that he takes Musetta to the Café Mumu, and she embarrasses him in front of her crowd. And the landlord is typical landlord. He wants the money off of these bohemians, and they don't have money, so they get him drunk and kick him out the door. So they're very funny characters. And Bartolo, that I do in Barber of Seville, he has a lot of patter. And I'm very well known for doing this patter in Italian. Most Italians can understand what I'm doing. A lot of the guys that do my rep, the patter goes like this. And a lot of them go, so they don't enunciate
I can't say it.
And people find that incredible that I can do that patter so quickly and they can understand the words.
And how long does it take you to train to something like that, though?
Well, I had the ability to mimic people that's just an innate thing that happened. I can do it. So at first I did it by ear, listening to the language. I didn't understand the language at all when I started. And I sort of said, I'm faking it because you were taught fake it till you make it. But so I started out not really understanding the Italian, but just doing the funny stuff so people thought I knew what I was doing. Because I made them laugh.
Well, right. And that's the whole point is to elicit emotion. In this case, it was meant to make laugh. And if you made them laugh, you did your job.
My diction was good. So Italians really thought that I could speak fluent Italian. And because of how my diction is, and I'm very clear, and I speak a very clear Italian, especially when I sing. I'm not a very good speaker in Italian because I don't know a lot of the language. I know words. I know present tense.
Do you have any Italian blood in you?
I have Italian. I found that out on one of those genealogy things.
Well, you said you did. You cut right that point. You are.
I did. Pardon me?
You said you are Italian?
Well, 7%.
Okay. Well, nobody's perfect. And it's
No,
better than
but I know. But wait, I am Irish, and I have to tell you, the Irish and the Italians get along swimmingly. And a lot of my buddies, they're married to an Irish girl or an Italian. They're all.
It's funny you say that. They really did. Irish and Italians really did marry a lot. There's a lot of truth in that. I don't know if it was a coincidence or they were in the same neighborhoods or what.
Right. That's just how life is, and I always got along with Italian people. I love them, and I had the chance in my career to go there and learn and be part of the culture, and which was it's invaluable. Nobody can, like today, the money's tight. To go over there and study like I did is very difficult.
Right.
So, these young people today, they study in universities, and I'm not dissing them. I'm just saying, when I sing with them, you can tell they're American singing Italian opera.
Okay. Now, because they're not immersed in not just the language, but I would say the culture. Yeah, that's the biggest thing.
That is the biggest thing, and that was the biggest thing for me, understanding mannerisms and things that Italian people do. They're an incredible people. I love them. And being there and seeing, that's how it is over here.
They really do talk with their hands.
And yes, and everything's there. Calmati, let's relax. We rehearse, but wait, first we have in the morning the cappuccino, we talk.
Cornetta.
Then we rehearse. So 2 hours later, we start rehearsal.
No, that's about right. It's like they know how to live. They know there's a time and a place to to really turn it on and get it done. And then there's a time and a place to just things to not worry about. I think that's one of the things I struggle with. The ironies of being Italian, but at the same time, I go over there and they're like, tranquillo, Stefano, tranquillo. I'm like, I can't relax,
Right. Because Americans we want things now, or even immediately.
Yesterday. Yeah.
And Italians like, it'll come, it'll be there. And they were right. Our shows were incredible over there.
Now, let's talk about that, because you are performing in one of the, I'll say hallowed ground with respect to opera, obviously right. Italy. And you're over there, and are you, talk about some of the folks you sang with over there.
Well, I studied over there, and I did, when I first started in opera, this will go back to Claudia Pinza and studying in Italy, and I bring Luciano Pavarotti back into the story because he really was my guide into opera, because I sang for him in Pesaro, Italy. He had a competition, and Claudia said to him, they were good friends, I want you to hear this kid. So the opera was L'Elisir d'Amore that he was auditioning for, that I was auditioning for, and he liked me. And he said, okay, I like this kid. But there was somebody, and I'm not going to mention the name, they did a recording of this, and the guy that played the character of Dul Camara, which is a character I do, he didn't do so well, and Luciano blames him for ruining the recording. It was a very famous recording, but Luciano didn't like him, and he thought he was not good. But anyway, I sang for him in Pesaro. Then I came over to Philadelphia. It was like the American Idol of that time.
Right.
It wasn't televised, but there were thousands of people that auditioned for Pavarotti to get an opportunity to sing with him in a major role. Well, anyway, I did sing for him in there, and he picked me to sing with him. So that was the beginning of my career. I had some smaller stuff before that, but this was huge. And so he really was the guy who got me into the, upper echelon of opera.
Now you got to know him then as a result of this.
Oh yeah, I knew Luciano was through Signora Pinza, that they were very good friends. And Rolando actually grew up in the town that Luciano did. They were friends. Oh. They played soccer and things together. If you knew who Pavarotti was as he got older, you wouldn't imagine that he could play soccer. But he actually was a lot different body type before he sang opera.
I wasn't going to say anything, but let's just say everybody was young once.
Yes, but he was just a great guy, and I had two funny stories about him, and the one was I'm trying to think of how he did this. He called me. He was coming to Pittsburgh to do a concert at the Civic Arena. Speaking of getting old, that used to be the arena that
I remember that place.
Yeah, well, so it had a dome, and so they made this big deal about him coming to. They gave him the key to the city, and that dome was only opened like twice in the history of that arena. But for Luciano, they opened it. But he calls me on my house phone when you had house phones, and said, "Is this the baritone?" And I was thinking, that sounds like Pavarotti. So I said, "Is this Luciano?" He said, "Of course it's me. Are you coming to see me?" I said, "Where?" He said, "I'm in Pittsburgh. Are you coming tonight to see me?" I said, "Luciano, I have to tell you, I sang with you. You've been very good to me. I'm not paying $500 to see you tonight." And he said, "Did I ask you to pay?" And I said, No, that's not that. And I said, "Well, if you want me to come, can I bring my wife?" "Of course you bring your wife." So we go, and we get down all the way to the front of the Civic Arena, the front seats. And we're sitting there, and Luciano sings his first aria, and he just ends with this beautiful high note. And he looks down at me and goes, and I was like, "Yeah, the best." It was a very funny time. And then he said, "How did you get my phone number?" "Don't worry about it." I said, "All right, I'm not worried about it."
Now,
but so yeah, we had that kind of relationship when I sang with him, and he was very good to me, and he was really a nice guy to be around.
I was going to ask you. I mean, when you see someone portrayed, say, on the news and the media, he was very famous for a while. Not, opera had kind of I don't want to say a revival in pop culture, but he sort of, the whole Three Tenors, it sort of had a pop culture revival. And
and he was the guy that led that.
Exactly.
He sang with every great pop singer in the world.
Oh,
I
yeah.
didn't realize some of the ones he sang with. But he would invite them, and they all wanted to sing with him.
Well, but it's funny you say that because he did play with a lot of, quote, modern acts in the 80s and I think even in the 90s. But my point, though,
Tom Jones.
Right. Well, Tom Jones, you know, who was singing with who?
Well, they did a song, and you should hear it. I mean, Tom Jones hit all the high. It was incredible.
Well, Tom Jones had in his heyday, he had an incredible, he's underrated as a singer because he had a powerful voice in his heyday.
If you listen to him, if you listen to things of his now, he's 85 something, he sounds exactly the same. He hasn't
still out there doing it. Good for him. I'm always glad to hear people that don't lose it.
So
because on an unrelated note, real quick, I got to mention this because it's funny you talk about voices now. You remember the group Guns N' Roses?
Yes.
And I heard him singing on like a popped up, and it's just a fact. His voice is so shot he's almost whispering when he sings. Right. And I think now I'm gonna kind of come full circle back to you, and that is the difference though between what I'm going to call a natural kind of singing versus I don't mean this in a bad way because I listen to a lot of the hair bands versus those when they were young and they could just scream, the damage that does to their throat versus someone who's just singing properly.
Well, that's exactly what I was taught that, and I understood it. And even today, I haven't done the big Italian arias in a long time because probably 7 years ago. But there's a girl, Marianne Cornetti, that lives in Pittsburgh. She's a very famous mezzo-soprano. And she asked me if I would sing the aria from The Barber of Seville, Un Dottor della Mia Sorte, with all the patter. It's very high and really fast. And it's probably about 6 minutes long. It's a really big aria. And I said, I don't know if I can do it or not. But we were in a room full of other singers. And so she said, Glavin, just try it. And so I did. And I sang the crap out of that thing. And she looked at me and she went, oh, my God, you've got to tell these people how old you are. Because for some reason, I mean, thank God, I still have a voice that isn't wobbly. It doesn't sound like a guy that sang so much. Because, I mean, when you're singing opera and you're putting out sound without using mic, a lot of guys my age, they just can't handle that kind of sound anymore. But because of my technique, I've been able to last and still sing the stuff. In fact, some of it's better than it was when I was really in my career.
Well, you've matured and you know how to do it a little differently, and I think that there's something to be said to that because I have heard singers. I don't want to say they've gotten better or worse, but they've gotten different because they've adjusted. Mm-hmm. And if they do the adjustments correctly, it might not be the same voice, but it's still a good voice.
Well, that's a good example. I tell young singers, don't sing like you're an older singer. Your voice will round out as age goes, but you have to learn a good technique so you'll be able to get through those changes that just happen in life. It's like if you listen to Ezio Pinza when he was a young man, he sounded like a young man, but with a really good voice. But as he got older, the sound was like this, so it was a rounder sound. It was a really incredible thing.
Well,
but he used the same technique as he did when he was a kid.
So funny fact, you know, as an example, I was driving home yesterday, and you remember Connie Francis?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, and they were doing a little interview with her, and then they played her one of her more famous songs, Where the Boys Are.
Yes.
And when they were interviewing, it was obviously later in life, and she's really old lady, and I'm thinking, you've heard her in her younger days, and obviously everyone's voice changes. You lose things, you lose certain things.
Sure.
But it was just incredible to think that, and I don't mean it's like in an insulting way because it happens to everybody, but it was just incredible to think like that person sang that song, and that's how much her voice has changed. But to your point, there are some singers that have been able to. I just attribute it to technique that are able to maintain something into their 70s and 80s.
And that's what it's all about. and you have to know your voice and your limitations. And, as you get older, your core muscles weaken, so you have to work on them.
Right.
Because a lot of people, when they're singing, they don't work out their core muscles. So when you lose that, you don't have the support underneath. And then you develop like forceful singing then you get a wobble, or you sound older, or you can't sing.
Now, I'm going to ask kind of a weird question. I'm going to go back to my hair bands example. A lot, and not just the hair bands, but even the guys from the 70s, like maybe like a Robert Plant or, what's his name from Deep Purple? Not David Coverdale, the one right before him, but all those kind of, they could hit the high notes.
Right.
Is it just simply impossible to maintain that because of the physical changes to your voice? Or can someone continue to sing in the same way, say in their 20s to their 60s or 70s?
Well, a good example of that is Freddie Mercury.
Oh, yes.
From Queen. He actually trained with an opera singer. So he had a technique and a voice that even before he passed away, one of the songs on the Queen's album, he was dying, and he hit these high notes that were absolutely incredible. Yeah. So here's a guy that when he was young had this voice, and as he grew and got very sick, and he could still hit those high notes. So his technique was incredible.
And I have a feeling he would have maintained to some degree. But like I said, you listen to someone, I've even used like an Elton John or a Rod Stewart. They weren't necessarily, singers, but they had a unique sound. But you listen to them now, it's just not even close. And you're like, well, how come they couldn't maintain that?
Well, first of all, they go from city to city to city. One night they're here, one night they're there. And
that's just wear and tear.
Constantly working. When they go on these world tours for a year, I'm sure they don't even know which city. Because I've had that happen in my career where I was doing a Don Pasquale in Denver, and I was rehearsing Cenerentola in Columbus, Ohio. So I had to fly back and forth like 6 times. And I'd finish a show, go rehearse, go back, do another show, go back. And so without a good technique, I would have never made it. And it was really incredible that I could switch from one opera to the other and not make a mistake.
Now, how let me ask you a question, because you bring up a good point. Obviously, you have to rest your voice. So was there a schedule you were on? You said, listen, I'm not singing for 24 hours after a show or something like that.
As I got older, I found out 2 things. You have to hydrate.
As you just did?
I drink a lot of water. I drink a lot of water now. And also, I don't speak a lot the day before. And the day of, I usually try not to speak, because speaking is very hard on the voice. Laughing is very hard on the voice.
I did not know that.
Yeah. Well, because you're when you speak, unless you speak like this, because you have the voice off of your vocal cords, because where I'm speaking now, if I spoke too much, I would have to really sound weird when I was speaking with you if I did it correctly.
All right. Interesting.
Yeah, it would just be I would sound like this, and because now I'm not. And then I could sing a song, and then I could go back into speaking like this, supporting my vocal sound when I'm speaking like I do when I'm singing.
I can't do it.
Lazy.
Well, I don't shut up, so my voice is never rested. I drink coffee too much, so I'm not hydrating properly, and I've never been properly trained in how to sing, which explains why even I'm like, man, stop singing, you're killing me. But it's me. I don't care. Stop it.
And I would not dissuade you. People always say to me, "Oh my God, you sing." I'm like, singing's for everyone.
That's right.
But I can't. I said, yes, you can. Just open your mouth and sing.
Doesn't have to be good.
Doesn't matter what it sounds like unless you're doing it for a profession.
Well, that's exactly right. And I have to convince myself that. But even I'm like, come on, man. But I'll just have to do those. What are those low grunts like, oh.
Yeah, right.
I'll just be that guy in the background going, oh.
That's good. That's a sound very few people can make. And,
Well, I'm trying to work on my 2 a.m. radio host. Like, hey, ladies, it's 2 a.m. and
That's good. Well, I know a lot of radio guys. And they all have that voice. Like, hey.
I tell you what, I still think I sound stuffy when I talk. Whenever I hear my own voice, I'm like, do I sound stuffy? Like, you don't sound stuffy. I'm like, I sound stuffy. I'm like, you don't. So I don't know what a normal voice even sounds like anymore.
Well, when you say stuffy, how do you mean?
I think I sound nasally.
Well, that's good. That's what you want. That's
really?
That's why your voice doesn't get tired.
Oh.
Because your voice.
You hear that, listeners?
Your speaking voice is in the mask, which is the front. It's where it should be. Especially as Italian. Italians speak in the front. English is more in the back. German in the back of the throat. But Italian, it's all the tongue is forward. The language is forward.
Interesting. Plus, we get to augment it with our hands.
Well, that too.
So less vocal usage. Like, and meanwhile, 12 words was just said with my hands in that simple gesture.
Right. Exactly. But yeah, so that's the one song that does bother me when people sing it, because they always start in the wrong key, and nobody can sing it, is "Happy Birthday."
Oh, good. You know what? Let me ask you a question. Okay, we're going to do that because I want to ask you. You said key. How do I know what key I'm singing in? And then jump into "Happy Birthday."
No, and that's why when you go to a birthday party and people start singing, usually it's somebody that's boisterous that'll just start "Happy Birthday to you."
I don't do that where I'm at.
So everybody's on a different pitch because they can't hit the high note, and then they lose their low notes. So it was started on the wrong key. So when I go to parties, I say to people, wait, let me start this. I'll make it comfortable for everyone.
Do you have one of those little things you go, purr?
No, I don't have a pitch pipe. I have relative pitch, which is, it's not perfect pitch, but I can get around, like if I start a song, it's around where it should be done. So I have relative pitch rather than perfect pitch.
All right. So you start us. No, I'm not singing "Happy Birthday," but let me hear what is the proper way, and how and is there you said key, I believe. So when you say key, am I wrong to say a note, or does that mean something different?
The key is the key of the song. It's sort of like a B flat or a C major, whatever. That is a key. And usually the notes, like I usually start "Happy Birthday" in a comfortable key, like "Happy Birthday to you." Now, each one of those things within that is a note.
Okay.
When I go up, "Happy Birthday to you, Happy Birthday to you," and then as an opera singer, of course, I have to do high notes.
Now, how do I know what key that's in, though, from a listening?
Well, I can't tell you what key that is exactly, but if I had a piano right now, I could tell you.
Oh.
But that's usually where I'll start. I'll pick a note that's comfortable because I know where the song is going to go, high and low.
Now,
so I try to pick a note to start it where people can handle it without screaming or not being able to hit the notes.
Now let's come back to something you'd mentioned before, because again, there are people that have natural voices, but they don't necessarily optimize their potential because they don't have someone to guide them and form it, to help them how to form it.
Right.
Again, my case in point is go listen to a lot of 70s, 80s guys. They sound, a lot of them have lost their voices because they were fantastic. They just used natural raw power and they just, belted it out. And now they're gone.
The muscle power and everything. Yeah, when you're young, you have a lot of that.
Now, with that being said, do you work with younger singers?
I don't really work with them. I never had time to do it. You have to really, I tell them, look, I can help you a little bit, but you can't be a student of mine. I do too many things and I can't really commit, to
actually being like a formal training, right?
Yeah. So I don't do that because I don't want to, be one of those guys where they're like, well, my teacher can't see me. I don't know what I'm doing. And, if I'm going to do that, I would commit to that student at least twice a week so they get what I'm trying to tell them. Well,
I totally get it. That's a formal commitment on your part. And, they're going to be looking for you too often. But there's a difference between that and advice, for sure.
Yeah, I think I could be a vocal coach where if I'm singing with somebody, I can tell them, watch how you support this note. You're going a little flat on the pitch, or your Italian doesn't sound right to me. I can coach them on that while we're doing something. But if I don't do it privately or anything like that.
So now, again, I know you've got some upcoming shows. What's coming up for you, just in general?
I recorded some music, which was what I always wanted to do, was like Sinatra style music. But I finally got to record some of the stuff with arrangements that were written for me by a guy named John Hall. He's a famous jazz guy. So this music was, it's jazzy and it's nice. And so I've been performing that actually at a cigar place.
We've come full circle. Congratulations, sir.
Thank you. That's my dream. I don't drink alcohol anymore, but I have
I was going to say that, but does that affect your voice? I mean, I'm assuming you have a cigar. No, that and a cigar once in a while.
Well, I've always smoked cigars, and people say to me, "Oh my God, you're an opera singer and you smoke cigars?" I'm like, "Well, I just always have done that." So it hasn't obviously affected my voice, because I sang at the Metropolitan Opera. I sang all over Europe, South America, every province in Canada, most of the states, China, and nobody ever said.
Do most of them?
Stop those cigars.
Well, I was going to say, do most of them do that? Have a drink and a cigar, or do they clean living and we don't touch it?
Yeah, a lot of opera singers live clean living, but I would have gotten out if I would have had to do that. I wanted to enjoy. I really did. I wanted to enjoy people. I wanted to enjoy life, and I was very blessed.
Listen, if I can't live like a rock star, what's the point? We're out of here.
Well, that's exactly what the guy said to me. He said, "You're the bad boy of opera."
I heard Kevin smoke cigars. Like, yeah, that's the worst thing.
Well, everybody knows it because I'd never hid anything. I lived my life out, whatever. If you like me, you like me. And, my problem was when I was younger, I wanted everybody to like me.
Mm.
And if one critic was in the audience and said one bad word, I would want to find the guy. But the audience is on their feet saying, "Bravo, bravo." But it was that one guy that bothered me.
And that's when you turned to your Italian friends and said, "This guy's bothering me."
Well, those are the guys I met in New York. The Philly that said, "Forget about it. What do you need us to do?"
Well, no. Well, you know what? Before I hang up on you here, I do want to ask that because you know what? Being in the entertainment, there's a thick skin factor here.
Sure.
I was going to say, how did you learn that, or did you just walk in and had it?
There was a guy named Tito Capabianco. He ran Pittsburgh Opera for years. And he actually helped me out also because he was very difficult. If you made one wrong word, like I sing La Calunnia, and it's another aria from The Barber of Seville, different character of Basilio. But there's a word in there, E un venticello. And I said, "Cielo," and he got so mad at me for doubling the L. And he was screaming at me. "If you ever do this again, I never hire you." And I'm like, "Well, you could have just told me." But, so what he said was, "I want to see how many young singers I can get out of the business."
Oh, so he was doing it on purpose.
Because everybody wants to sing. Now, if you can't handle me, you're not going to be able to handle living alone. If you have a family, living away from your family. I traveled 10 months out of the year in the height of my career. So
sort of an opera boot camp.
Be willing to put up with a lot of different egos, conductors, directors, singers, and you got to be able to put up with all of that, and critics, and sometimes you might have a bad night.
Well, that's right.
So if you can't handle that, and not singing with a mic and keeping your voice, working on your voice while you're out of town.
Well, that's funny because I've fallen into that with a few things already, and I kind of tell myself, well, you better learn to live with it, because if you're going to do anything in the public sphere, you can expect that not everyone's going to think everything you're doing is the Midas touch.
Correct.
So
yep.
It be what it be.
That's what
Kevin, I want to thank you very much for taking time out of your schedule to join me.
Stephen, thank you.
It was fun. We got to do dinner again. We got to get Sam. We got to go back to dinner and have a good time. I like that restaurant, by the way. In fact, I need to call him and get him on the show too. But great little place in Pittsburgh. It did give me the nice feeling of being back in the motherland.
It is, and Franco's a great chef, and great guy. Very personable.
Yeah.
It'd be great to have him on your show.
Well, he's actually on my list of people I need to reach out to. As you can tell, I'm extremely slow. But Sam gave me his number. Folks that are listening are going, what the hell are these two talking about? Don't worry about it. But anyways,
Right.
Kevin, Glavin, I'm going to put down some information in the description so folks can go out and follow you. In the meantime, I do want to thank you again for taking time out to join me today.
Thank you,
God bless you. Continue doing what you're doing. I enjoy it, and I think more folks are going to listen to you, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next show. You got to let me know when I'm supposed to be there so I can be there and be your biggest critic.
All right, good.
Boo!
Hey,
I'm kidding. All right, Kevin, you take care, buddy. We'll talk to you soon. All right, folks, we'll be right back after these messages.
Ciao, Chrissy. Your Italian got so much better. Brava.
Grazie. It's because I learned the best way possible.
How so?
Well, I learned that with apps, grammar books, and even YouTube videos, I could only get so far. I had to immerse myself. I noticed I did best when I was in Italy visiting family. That's where my level really soared.
And wow, did it work?
Thanks. I became much more confident, fast. That's why I created Footsteps Through Time. It's an Italian language experience. You don't just take Italian classes, you immerse yourself in a real Italian village. With lots of fun activities and excursions, it's life-changing.
I see. So, no more boring grammar, impersonal apps, just real conversations, real culture, and delicious food, of course.
Exactly. I'm so excited about this. Learn Italian by actually becoming part of the local community for a week and living it. So if you've been dreaming of Italy and the language, check out Footsteps Through Time in Italy.com. Book now and join the experience.
Andiamo!
Thanks to Greater Pittsburgh Travel. For any of your travel needs, let Tom and the team at Greater Pittsburgh Travel know, and they'll take care of you. For more information, call 412-331-2244 or visit their website at www.greaterpittsburghtravel.com. Did your parents or grandparents ever talk about the Vietnam War? The Hardest Year, a love story and letters during the Vietnam War, is an accurate portrayal of what life was like during the 1960s, a time of the draft, equal rights, and the anti-war movement. Follow newlyweds through their letters as they navigate 1 year of the war an ocean apart. The Hardest Year by Carol and William Wagner is available now wherever books are sold. And we want to thank the Calabria Club of Pittsburgh. If you're interested in learning more, you can find their contact information on Facebook at Calabria Club of Pittsburgh. Again, thanks Domenica and the team at the Calabria Club of Pittsburgh for your support. And we want to thank La Scuola d'Italia Galileo Galilei, the only nonprofit school in Pittsburgh endorsed by the Italian Consulate. If you're interested in learning Italian or have your children being immersed in the Italian culture and language, be sure to give them a call at 412-404-7070. And that's La Scuola d'Italia Galileo Galilei. We'd also like to thank Chris Gonzalez from the Knights of Columbus. If you have any questions about joining the Knights of Columbus, reach out to Chris Gonzalez at 412-605-9074. Hello, Bucko fans. This is Steve Stefano Mancini, international award-winning filmmaker and host of the award-winning Italian Impact podcast. Join us in celebrating the Italian community on August 23rd as the Pirates take on the Colorado Rockies. This special offer includes an exclusive Pirates co-branded Italian hat and loaded value, good to use on concessions and merchandise on the day of the game. Also, a portion of each ticket will be donated to a local Italian charity. So come experience a unique blend of sports, culture, and community during Italian Heritage Night at PNC Park. Grazie, ci vediamo. All right, folks, welcome back. And again, had a great time with Kevin Glavin, opera singer, entertainer, Pittsburgh guys, been all over the world, sang with the best. So, go find his music, go listen to him. This is world-class talent. We got him right here in our backyard. So I'm very grateful for that. I'm grateful that he took time out of his schedule to join me today. With that being said, we're done today. So thank you all very much for tuning in. Thank you to my international listeners. Again, please, I don't care where you're at in the world. If you have some guests or some ideas or something you'd like to hear me talk about, someone you'd like me to interview, please email me at questions@ItalianImpactWeekly.com. Again, that's questions@ItalianImpactWeekly.com. Thank you again, and God bless.